What's happening? Everybody stay calm.
Oh boy, I think some gamers are excited for this personally. I don't know about the business side of things, but I think a decent amount of gamers are super happy that Jim Ryan, you know, PlayStation, Sony, CEO, that guy, ring a bell? Yeah, he is retiring. He's stepping down as of March 2024. Technically, he's not even going to be in the position as of October. They're having some other people come in to kind of help, and they'll probably end up working together a little bit, but by March of 2024 he is gone. Right now, obviously, I don't know if he like jumps on the board or something like that, or because he's been with PlayStation for over 30 years. This isn't some guy who came in for like 5 years and then is just leaving. He's been here a while. Plus, the dude has a job in the States, lives in the UK. Like, that's a pretty big commitment right there. So whether you hate the guy, like the guy, have absolutely no feelings for him whatsoever, this is some pretty big news. They're starting to think about the next generation already, right? You're starting to look at the technology. You're starting to look at what is the cheapest way to build your next console, how you're going to focus on the business side of everything. You're going more into live service stuff. You're going to go into single player games, you know, Game Pass, all that stuff, right? And generally we see CEOs step down at the end of the life cycle of the current console, right? So Jim came in, he started off with the PS5. He launched the PS5 essentially as a CEO. And then you would assume he would leave in, let's just say 2028, if we're going to go off of the leaks and the rumors from Xbox about releasing their next console around 2028 or so, which again falls in line with general console generations and everything like that. But no, Jim's just like, no, I'm going to retire, which again, I don't berate him for wanting to retire or anything. I mean, the dude, again, he's been in that job for 30 years, not as CEO, but he's been at PlayStation for 30 years. And to go between the UK and the US all the time, that's a lot on somebody. So you know what? If he's going to be able to go home, be with his family, all that kind of stuff, then I get it. I totally do. But what does this mean for PlayStation? And what does this mean just as us as gamers? What are we going to see going forward? And what is the community wanting versus what we can expect to get? Because I get a feeling a lot of people want one thing. I get a feeling we're going to get something else. So we got a lot to talk about here. What's going on, everyone? Tallen here at Direct Gaming, and we got to talk about all the stuff when it comes to Jim Ryan and his statement about leaving / retiring from PlayStation as the CEO. Who's going to replace him? What does this mean going forward? Are things going to drastically change? Are things going to stick around and be kind of the same up until we get into the next generation of consoles? Could someone come in and throw Jim's plans out the window and be like, look, this makes us money, but this is going to make us even more money? Or are they going to look like, look, we got to focus on the community. We got to go what gamers are wanting and focus on this only. It's not going to bring as much profit, but it's going to do this instead. We got to talk about all of that. So if you happen to be new to the channel and you like the video, then a like would be greatly appreciated. And also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more discussions, news, reviews, guides, the whole 9 yards, or jump into our live streams. We actually just live streamed today. We were literally talking about this beforehand in terms of making this recording and everything. So if you want to come in and give us your thoughts and opinions on it, always appreciate it. Let's get started. Okay, so let's just go through some of the basic information. I'm going to go through some of the points, and I'm just going to kind of give my own personal thoughts and opinions on it, and then we're going to move on to the next section. I've got about 3 sections, give or take. If you want to check out the timestamps down below, you're more than welcome to. So what is like the official statement? Because generally all this kind of news and information is dropped via, you know, leaks, or hey, I heard it from this person, and you know, or Bloomberg is like, well, hey, there's some rumors floating around that this person's leaving. No, like that type of stuff dropped, and then literally 15 minutes later we get this from both Sony and from Jim. So it reads, Jim Ryan, current CEO of Sony, will be stepping down in October of 2023 and retiring in March 2024. Hiroki Totoki, current COO and CFO, will assume the role of chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment in October of this year, and then in March of 2024, he will become the interim CEO until he and the rest of the company can find the next CEO to take Jim's place. Then from Jim himself, we have the following. After 30 years, I have made the decision to retire from SIE, aka Sony Interactive Entertainment, in March of 2024. I've relished the opportunity to have a job I love in a very special company, working with great people and incredible partners, but I found it increasingly difficult to reconcile living in Europe and working in North America. I will leave having been privileged to work on products that have touched millions of lives across the world. PlayStation will always be a part of my life, and I feel more optimistic than ever about the future of Sony. I want to thank Yoshida-san for placing so much trust in me and being an incredibly sensitive and supportive leader. Basically, from now until March, he's going to be working with other people within the company. And then the interim CEO will take over in March of 2024. And I'm assuming starting now, obviously, but during that time especially, they're going to be focusing on finding a new CEO to kind of be the face of PlayStation and Sony. Now, one thing to keep in mind real quick before we move on to some topics that I want to talk about as well is that Sony is not just PlayStation, obviously. Now, I know some people are going to be like, well, yeah, no duh. They've also got their movies, their cameras, and, you know, I guess music stuff from back in the day, right? But that's not all they also do. They also have things like insurance policies. They do insurance. They have an entire insurance division over here in Japan, and they have other things, mostly within Japan, but also around the world as well, that, again, makes Sony look bigger than what a lot of people know and everything like that. Now, obviously, someone like Jim has not been the most popular, I would say, in terms of all the CEOs that have been kind of the face value of PlayStation and everything, but he has brought in profits. Love or hate the guy, you cannot deny that he has brought a ton of success to PlayStation in terms of profits, because in the end, they are a business, and that is the number one thing. I hate hearing about it, you hate hearing about it, but guess what? That is the reality that we currently live in. That is 2023 right now. Keep that in mind when I'm talking about some of this stuff, or when you hear updates coming out about who's going to be the new CEO or what's happening here. And I'm not just talking about PlayStation, by the way. I'm also talking about anything from Xbox to even Nintendo and everything. Obviously, they have their different ways of going about it, but regardless, they're a business in the end. They're all businesses in the end, and they like to focus on the money. And I can guarantee you, like 99%, Sony is going to be looking for a CEO that can follow in Jim's footsteps in terms of making sure that they bring in record profits. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, because a lot of people would love to just say, later, Jimbo, let's get our gamer CEO in here. Let's make this happen and actually have some good communication and everything. And you know what? For the most part, I actually would 100% agree. I agree that there needs to be somebody who actually cares about the games and everything, cares about the ecosystem that is PlayStation, and is also somebody who likes to communicate maybe with the community, right? I'm not saying they have to go onto YouTube and everything and make a video every single day, but I don't know, maybe like once a month or once every other month or something like that. That's not the typical state of play or anything like that, where they just like, hey, 5-minute Twitter video or something where they're like, hey guys, hope everything is going well. Just wanted to let you know that, we're cooking up some really cool stuff to show you off in a couple of months or something like that. I'm currently, they have them like in the background, they're playing, God of War or something. I don't know, just something random like that. But, a lot of people would love to see a new CEO do that. Jim himself, he oversaw the launch of the PS5 and was CEO during a time where PlayStation brought in not only record profits, but also acquired quite a few small companies to build their teams. I mean, we saw some companies that were either mixed together. We saw some companies that were laid off, unfortunately, but then there were rumors about it getting, mixed into other companies or being made into brand new ones under the PlayStation name and everything like that. So there's been some ups and downs, obviously, there. I mean, one of the big obvious ones is Bungie. I mean, they acquired them for $3.6 billion. That was definitely the biggest one, I would say. But there's also a ton of other small ones like Firesprite, Firewalk Studios, Haven, Nexus, and so many more. So it'll be interesting to see what those companies and developers and teams and everything are able to make going forward, because again, under Jim, it was only about 5 years, give or take. So all of them right now, they're probably working on something. We don't know what they're working on, or a majority of them, we probably don't know what they're working on, or maybe parts of them are helping other teams finish up projects before they really get into their own stuff. We don't know if it has to do with those live service games or single player games or anything like that. But regardless, there's a lot of stuff that's probably being worked on right now. And Sony and the rest of the board and the company are going to look at that and be like, okay, look, Jim brought this in. We made this X amount of money, profits, and yada, yada. And who are we going to replace him with? And, I would assume, I don't work at Sony or anything like that, but they're going to be looking to have a bunch of people come in, I don't think from outside the company, most likely just simply inside Sony. And they're going to say, hey, if you were a CEO, what would you do? Give us your 5-year plan or something like that, or a 10-year plan or something. A lot of these types of positions, usually you don't have somebody sticking around for 30 years in the CEO position. I mean, if we look over like Xbox, for example, right? You have Phil Spencer, who's been in there for just about 10 years. He came in on 2014, give or take. And we have a video coming out very soon, / it's probably released by now, talking about some of those leaks about how if by 2027 Xbox is potentially gone. And I don't know if that's because, I mean, that's from Phil's mouth himself, right? I don't know if that's because Microsoft is being like, yo, you've been here for 10 years. We need some progress. We need some profits to show off, and we need them now. So is Sony going to be doing the same thing where they're like, okay, this next person, they got 10 years at the max, and you got to match Jim or go above? That's a little hard to say. So the big question that I want to talk about now with you guys, though, is in terms of the new CEO, gamer or businessman? If you want to know what I mean by gamer, I'm not talking about just randomly going on the Twitter and obviously pulling a gamer out or anything like that. Yeah, I'll be the CEO right here. No, obviously I'm talking about someone like Phil Spencer, where Phil Spencer, if you talk to a majority of people who, you know, have either met him or anything like that, they'll tell you like, yeah, the dude's a genuine cool guy. He games, he plays a ton of games. You see him online and everything like that. He's jumped in the multiplayer matches and everything like that. Like, that's a gamer right there, right? Versus a businessman like Jim, who could barely hold a PS4 controller and didn't really do any kind of spotlight interviews or anything like that. Or, you know, he made comments about like, I don't know why people like these old games and everything like that. Huh. I wonder why people like those old games, Jim. I mean, geez, it's almost like when DICE and EA were like, we don't know why everyone likes Bad Company 2. I wonder. Never really guessed or anything like that. So what are the pros and cons to each of those? Because again, if you were to go online right now or into social media or anything, or even in the comments of this video right now, let us know your comments down below, by the way. Gamers most likely are going to want somebody like Shuhei Yoshida, also known for mostly working with Sony's indie profiles and all those indie developers and everything. Or maybe someone like Herman Holst, I hope I pronounced that name correctly, who's from Guerrilla Games and is currently the head of PlayStation Studios, right? Like, those are the guys that are on the floor talking with not only fans, but developers and everything all the time. And they're gamers, right? They love to play games and they make that public about that. And you can see that. Like, they obviously know how the business works and everything. But at the same time, they're like, yeah, you know what? I'll kick back, have a beer and game it essentially and everything like that, right? And I think that's what a lot of gamers want, because they want somebody that they can personally connect to. Even if they don't know them personally, they want somebody that they're able to connect with, even if it's just over a simple video or anything like that. That's why, you know, people decide on who they like as a YouTuber or someone on TikTok or other social media platforms and everything. You are attracted to people that you can relate to, not to some random person who says, yeah, I have this title, but you know, you and I don't connect at all or anything like that. Like, that's what a lot of people don't like. And Jim has definitely gotten some flack for that. Like, you know, again, if I look at a business aspect, I said, yeah, Jim's had an absolute success. In terms of a CEO and who the guy is, in terms of the comments he makes and everything, he's definitely on the lower end, especially when he's made comments about saying like, oh, I don't know why people like all these older games. Just play the new ones, essentially, right? That's definitely a very business comment. I know he's my favorite CEO in terms of, because again, a CEO is like the public face of the company or that section of the company or slash brand, right? So again, I think gamers would prefer to have someone like Yoshida-san or to have someone like Herman, right? But the question is, what does Sony want? And Sony probably wants another Jim to bring in those profits, like I've stated beforehand. And I can't blame them for wanting that, because again, they are a business. Unfortunately, under Jim, however, though, we've seen the increased price in the console of the PlayStation 5. We've seen the increase in PlayStation Plus, the online service, and in just general first-party games, just going from $60 to $70. Now, obviously, they're not the only ones who have done it. I know that. In fact, I think like EA and 2K were the first ones to implement that across the industry. And then it was more like Xbox and Nintendo and PlayStation going like, okay, who's going to drop it first? They got like the boxing fight style going. They're like, okay, who's dropping it? And Sony's like, you know what? F this. They just dropped the price and like, you know what? We'll take the hit right now. We have the profits and everything. We're doing well. People still enjoy the PlayStation and everything like that. We're going to do it. Because then, like, no less than a month later, Xbox did that, and Nintendo has still kept it 60 for the most part. However, Tears of the Kingdom was 70, and I would not be surprised if next year when they release their new consoles, based off the rumors and everything, they will most likely bump their prices up to $70 as well. And it hurts us as consumers. You know, $10 may not look big, but in a time when a majority of the world economy is hurting and our dollar or our currency, wherever we live, goes for less now, it hurts us even more. And then again, when you see multiple things within the entertainment system that you have. So again, PlayStation 5, for example, to see everything increase together and not just simply be one thing. Like if it was just simply the game increased, and then as time has gone on through this current generation, like it used to do, where the PlayStation 5 dropped in price and then the game still stayed around the same price, but luckily you can get the games for a pretty cheap price on the store during a lot of their sales. I will give Xbox and PlayStation that they have a good amount of sales as of late. Like back in the day, you was either used games at the store or you bought full price on the store essentially. So I will give them a little bit of credit for that. So if it was something like that, then yeah, okay, fine. A $10 increase in games, I could accept it. Would I like it? Not particularly, but you know, when you see everything else go up at the same time, yeah, that hurts, unfortunately. And we even mentioned this in our other Xbox video that, again, just probably released or is about to release, where even Game Pass, that literally just got a price increase, is about to get another one, or it's inevitable, essentially, right? So you have all these companies making record profits, and then all these price increases are going up. So it's just, it hurts, right? So obviously, we as gamers would love to say, like, yes, get a gamer in there, somebody who can kind of be the voice for us to Sony, be like, whoa, pump the brakes here. We're bringing in these profits. Let's get the gamers this a little bit, right? Like, I don't know, not having to have PlayStation Plus to play online. Just saying, that would be my biggest thing. Thanks for ruining that one, Xbox. We have a whole video on that. Check it out if you want to. So what's going to happen? I know everyone in the comments is going to be like, yes, get a gamer in there, or somebody who at least relates to us a little bit in terms of the, like, they play games and everything. I get the feeling they're probably going to bring in someone similar to Jim, unfortunately, though. In a perfect world, a gamer would come in. Yes, or again, somebody like that, somebody like Herman. But I would hope, you know, if I had to say, okay, you know what, I'll give a little bit on that. If you can get somebody who is a mix of Jim and Herman, or a mix of Jim and Yoshida-san, right? Have some kind of person who mixes like that, where they actually know what the games are, and somebody who can actually communicate with us and all that kind of stuff, then great, I'll take it. You know what? Handle the business side of things, obviously, like Sony wants, but at the same time, make it so that we as consumers are happy. I don't see prices going down in terms of games or anything like that, or the PlayStation Plus, unfortunately, but hopefully we can start to see some improvements on things, and maybe some things that are in development to make the service better maybe get pushed out faster or something like that, right? Who knows? Hard to say. But regardless, it will be interesting to see. The last thing that I want to talk about before ending this video real quick is just simply, what can we expect with Sony going forward? And I say Sony, mostly PlayStation, obviously, because PlayStation's had a weird change up in terms of the PlayStation 5 era right now, where we still have the amazing first party single player story games that we've grown and love, and we want more of, right? Like things like God of War, we have Spider-Man coming up, we had Horizon Forbidden West, and all of those great games. And we would hope to eventually see things like maybe even Killzone come back eventually, or how about Resistance, or whatever that game was. There's a shooter back on like the PS3. It's like Resistance 1, Resistance 2, I think. The picture will be up in the front of the camera and everything like that. But having things like that, or new IPs, and, you know, seeing like the Wolverine game when that eventually comes out, and things, you know, things like that. That's what we want to see, right? But they've also been delving into a lot of the live service games. 10 projects to be precise, and they're spending a lot of money on this. And I get it, again, from the business side of things, the business versus the gamer. The business side, it makes sense because that brings in a ton of money, and these single player games cost a lot. So they want to try and mitigate those costs, not in terms of spending less, but to be like, okay, look, we can spend the big bucks on these big single player games, but at the same time, we're going to have these microtransaction filled live service games. They're not going to say microtransactions, but we all know they are going to. There are these live service games that are going to bring, you know, in a ton of revenue and everything, which forces people to then buy into PlayStation Plus because they're going to be online. And how do you play online? You gotta have PlayStation Plus. This is why playing on PC is so much better when it comes to online games like this. I'm sorry, it's just, I haven't had PlayStation Plus in like 5 years, and I'm never going to ever get it. It doesn't even matter. So, but regardless, that's what they've been focusing on, right? I mean, heck, remember the weird extraction shooter like Fair Games from their State of Play that they had, or the Helldivers game that, I don't know, to me that personally looks weird. Or again, they're helping invest into something like Marathon. While yes, I know Marathon is made by Bungie and they're putting it out on all platforms and everything, Sony's invested $3.6 million into them, and I guarantee a lot of that money's going into that game. I mean, it ain't going to Destiny 2. Just saying. So regardless, I would hope that a new CEO would come in. I know the CEO doesn't hold all of the power to just simply snap his fingers or her fingers and change everything on a dime. My personal hope that they would dial it down on the live service stuff, because again, we've said this in many videos beforehand in our streams and everything, that you can have as many live service games as you want. That's fine, Sony. You can have 10. Guarantee you, not everyone's gonna be playing all 10 though. That's the problem. Players have a limited amount of time. You have obviously gamers who are in school and everything. You have gamers who are in college. You have gamers who are full adults, and most of us grew up with your consoles, right? So we're all a good chunk of us are adults now. We have daytime jobs. We have families. You come home. We want to cook dinner, get ready for the next day essentially, and we get maybe an hour to play. I can't invest in the 10 live service games, especially because 90% of them fail and flop hardcore, and that's not something I want to see you guys go down in terms of that particular path. So I'm assuming that Jim is the one who advised this and the board said, yeah, let's go with it. So I hope whatever new CEO comes in and goes like, look, we'll keep some of the live service games. Again, I get it, the business side of things. Again, that kind of in the middle person, right? The gamers want this type of person, Sony wants this type of person, meet in the middle type of thing. So if somebody comes in and says, okay, you know what, we're going to keep something like Fair Games, or we're going to keep Helldivers, and we'll keep, obviously, well, I know Marathon with Bungie, and we'll keep one more live service, but they're going to be spread out enough in terms of their releases. And if one happens to fail, then we've got a couple more coming up. And again, that's why they bought Bungie, to help make these particular types of games, because love or hate them, Bungie has succeeded where 90% of the live service games have failed. If they do that and then said, by the way, we're still going to obviously get, now I should probably stop right here and just simply say Sony, and by no means is stopping all their single player games after like the ones that have currently been announced or anything. We know that we know they're going to continue to invest into those. But what I'm saying is, if you've seen the charts about showing how much they're investing in the live service games compared to the single player story games, I wanted to go back up like this a little bit more and have that live service stuff come down so it's more even essentially, right? That would be like my perfect world, or my like, hey, you know what, I'll take it, I'll accept it type of thing. But unfortunately, a lot of the gaming industry has been going into live services because that's unfortunately where a lot of the money is and everything. Again, not just Sony. Nintendo is slowly but surely starting to do it. Xbox has been doing it for a while. I mean, just look at Halo, for example, right? So, and again, EA, Ubisoft, all those guys, they've all been doing it. So it'd be interesting to see who the new CEO is, but I want to know your thoughts on in the comments. I have a feeling I know what most of the comments are going to say, but looking at from, I guess, since I'm not a gamer back when I was like in high school or anything, I know 17-year-old me would have been like, yes, put a gamer in there, F the CEO, F the yada yada yada, all that kind of stuff. But you know, after going to university and working for a while and even being part of Direct Gaming here, in terms of one of the heads of this small little company right here, I know what to expect, or what some parts of it to expect and everything. So again, we'll have to wait and see, but let me hear your thoughts in the comments. I've rambled on long enough now. I've given you all the points. What are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen? Watch what happens over the next, I would say, year, give or take, to really see some of these changes, because again, whoever comes in by March or a little bit after March or anything like that, or if anything happens in terms of games, it's going to be an interesting turnaround. And then again, especially with the Nintendo Switch successor coming out next year and Xbox's predicament, I will say, in terms of 2027, we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen in the gaming landscape. So let's hope everything works out for the best. So anyway, guys, I've been Tallen with Direct Gaming. Thank you so much for everyone that stopped by. Again, leave your comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. I'm sorry this didn't have much of a script. I kind of ramble a lot more, but I just wanted to make this video and talk about it. So and again, if you happen to be new, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot and it's free. Anyway, thank you so much again for everyone stopping by the video. Can't wait to see you all in the next one. Johnny.